watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Well, good morning to you and welcome into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Weimer and thanks for joining us on this Wednesday morning, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. It has been a busy morning so far, so we appreciate you joining us. We really do have a lot to get to today. I want to let you know of some of what we have coming up here on Fox 35 News Plus. We'll take you to Polk County, where the Attorney General James Uthmeier was just with the Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd talking about the multi-state fraud investigation that led to a number of arrests, several of them from Florida, some of them from other states as far away as Missouri, I believe. Many of them facing charges. They are now booked into jail. We will have those details coming up in just a little bit. Governor Ron DeSantis in Jacksonville today talking about cancer research funding and some projects that they hope will help in the fight against cancer, alongside the First Lady of Florida, Casey DeSantis, who is a breast cancer survivor herself. Also in Jacksonville, we just heard from Ben Crump, the renowned civil rights attorney who announced a lawsuit against the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. At the center of this is that the video we showed you yesterday. It has gone viral, a traffic stop where an officer punched through a window, ended up punching the the driver of that car, who had been arguing with him and was refusing to get out of the vehicle. We showed you that body camera video as well. We heard from that man, William McNeil, as well as Ben Crump in the news conference that just wrapped up, as they talked about filing a lawsuit against the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office over that case. But we begin today. I want to give you a live look inside the courtroom as another teenager set to be sentenced in a triple murder case in Marion County. This is the sentencing hearing for Taj Bruton going on live right now in Marion County. He was 16 years old when he is accused of killing 3 teenagers back in 2023. Bruton, alongside Robert Robinson, they have pleaded no contest to 3 counts of murder, 1 count of robbery, 1 count of evidence tampering. This is you may remember yesterday, this is the same case. Yesterday, Christopher Adkins was 12 years old at the time of those killings. He was sentenced to 40 years in prison for his role after he pleaded guilty to the death of one of those teenagers. So let's go ahead and listen in as this sentencing hearing continues. Hearing from prosecutors right now. We've heard from a number of family members and others giving victim impact statements today. Family members of the victims that were killed in this, including Layla Silvernail and Michael Hodo Jr. The defense also called a witness talking about poor decision making that they believe was influenced by his young age at the time. So let's go ahead and listen in live in Marion County Court.
Someone who has well thought out exactly what they want to do, and they did it. His background is something you have to consider, and I think the fact of the matter is his family says that they try to teach him right from wrong, and the fact that he disregarded the good influences in his life is something that weighs against him, not for him. The extent of his participation in the offense, I think the evidence is consistent with the fact that he did kill Michael Hodo Jr. and that he, by his own admission, disposed of his body, and that he tried to dispose of Camille Coral's body. There's no evidence of any familial pressure, peer pressure. I don't know that there's any evidence of that as well. I mean, it's clear that back in March 18th that he was already planning to do harm to Michael Hodo Jr. So I don't really think there was any peer pressure asking him to do it. He just decided to do it on his own. And noticeably, in the carjacking for which he was convicted, he was alone.
Was that case unsolved at the time these offenses occurred? I was trying to look at
it. It was not unsolved. I don't believe so, no, Your Honor. I don't think it was unsolved. I don't know that he'd been arrested on it yet, but it was not unsolved. I think they had the DNA back at the point before.
He was on juvenile probation, right?
Correct, for the grand theft.
For the grand theft and like the fleeing and looting.
Correct.
And then was the ankle monitor a condition of that probation?
It was.
All right. And then you have this carjacking.
It may have been the ankle monitor for the carjacking.
Was he arrested for the carjacking as a juvenile?
He was, and because it was direct filed later, yes, he was arrested as a juvenile for the carjacking.
That has a 23 case number, 2328.
Yes. It happened in August of 2022.
What was the juvenile case number?
The juvenile case number for that was
23 CJ 28.
hold on one second. I believe that's correct.
I just want to see the progression of offenses, but
Yes, sir.
all right. So he was arrested on that. Says he was arrested on, would have been January of 23. Is that right? I put the wrong number in, I'm sorry. I put CJ. Obviously, if it's 28, it's a low number. Chronologically. So he was arrested on that, 23 CJ 28. January 17th.
Yes, sir. So that would be. Yeah, he would have been on supervision. He would have been on ankle monitor for the carjacking because that was on March the 10th of 2023. That the tampering with the electronic monitoring device was filed.
Was he? And then when did he get out of detention? But go ahead. I'm just looking at
Yes, sir.
something. Yeah.
And I just think that, as you consider those things, and of course that sort of plays into the next factor which the court has to consider, which is that nature and extent of the defendant's prior criminal history. For someone his age, he had already racked up some pretty serious crimes, and frankly, none of them caught his attention. I mean, he commits a grand theft auto, he flees from the police, he commits a carjacking, gets out with his ankle monitor, cuts off his ankle monitor, and in the interim, commits another armed robbery and commits 3 first-degree murders. I mean, that is an escalation. That is the pattern of escalation, and certainly there's very little evidence to suggest that any of this was done because he was immature or because someone pressured him to do it. These are all decisions he made. All things that he had the capability and all the tools to understand the difference between right and wrong, and he did it. And so I think when you look at all those factors, I think they weigh heavily in favor of giving him the most severe sentence because these are serious crimes. And I don't know that there is anything that a court could do to him other than give him life that would be fair, given the fact that when given the opportunity to show that he wanted to make a change, he did more severe and more dangerous and more violent things. And I think because of all
The prosecution arguing for life in prison for Taj Bruton. You heard them talk about some of the reasons they believe that should be the case. It appears now that the defense attorney is going to speak. So we need to take a quick break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we're going to come back and we'll hear what he has to say. So keep it here.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. Want to get you back inside the courtroom in Marion County where the sentencing hearing for Taj Bruton is underway. That's his defense attorney speaking now. We just heard from prosecutors arguing why they believe he should be sentenced to life in prison. Let's go ahead and listen in to his defense attorney.
As Dr. Kropp has indicated, and the nature of these crimes. And like I said, there's nothing good about these crimes. But we still have to look to the mitigation, and the mitigation that is applied in these cases is what Dr. Kropp had indicated, because of the diminished ability of a juvenile brain to function as an adult brain. They're given special dispensation based on the studies of the law. So we're requesting that the court take cognizance of the case law, the facts, the studies, the testimony of Dr. Kropp, and the fact that my client did accept responsibility. He did follow the plea deal. He did make the proffer. He did help the state, and got us to this point today. We're requesting that the court sentence Mr. Bruton to the same sentence as Mr. Atkins to keep consistency in the sentencing for the same crimes.
And just briefly, in fairness, it is true he did enter a plea. I would note he gave a proffer, although frankly it's inconsistent with the evidence. But he does not stand before you in the same position as Christopher Atkins, because Mr. Atkins was only convicted of one first-degree murder, and to suggest that this defendant deserves the same sentence would almost suggest that he gets 2 free murders, because one person who's a juvenile commits a murder and gets 40 years. So we're going to give someone who's convicted of 3 murders the same sentence. That they don't stand on the same. They're not the same. They're not the same defendant. You have to treat them differently because they are in fact different. The facts are different. Circumstances are different. Their ages are different. Their behaviors are different. Their criminal histories are different. Everything about this case is different, and life is an appropriate sentence because of the dangerous actions that he committed.
All right. And Judge, in response to that, of course, Mr. Atkins got the benefit of the state attorney saying, we'll choose you, and that's the only difference.
I need no further argument. I would point out one significant difference between Mr. Atkins and Mr. Bruton is that Mr. Atkins was 12 years old at the time of the offense. Mr. Bruton was not. As I said yesterday, my job is to find a fair sentence which takes into account the victims of the offense, their families, and the defendant, and all the actions that he committed. I would remind everybody that a certain portion of my sentence is ruled by statute. That statute ultimately comes from the United States Supreme Court, which has laid out the only legal way for juveniles to be sentenced. They have excluded juveniles from the death penalty. They have excluded juveniles from getting a sentence of life in imprisonment with no possibility of release. So that comes to us from the United States Supreme Court, and I must follow that law. If I don't follow that law, the sentence will be immediately overturned. So I have no choice. That comes to us from the United States Supreme Court. However, certain aspects of the sentence are within my discretion, and those are the parts I'm acting on now. First of all, just as a minor thing, do you agree that the sentence points are 96.225, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So on the tampering of physical evidence, that's a third-degree felony. He could, other than a departure sentence, which I don't think is appropriate in this case, he would have to get 96.225 months on that case.
That is the lowest permissible sentence and the maximum for that charge, yes, Your Honor.
Sure. The other thing I want to mention is that for the same reasons I couldn't consider the victim impact of Layla and Michael yesterday, I certainly will consider it today because their cases are in front of the court today. They weren't in front of the court yesterday. In Florida Statute 921.1401, I've considered all aspects of that statute and all the criteria which are laid out in that statute. I've considered in Wade his age at the time of the offense, which was understand either 18 or 19 now is the most important one. I think he was 16. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, he was.
That's my understanding of it. I weighed his maturity. I weighed his background, his intellectual capacity. I considered the background information from the pre-sentence investigation that was compiled for the robbery case, which would be the same background information for this case. I weighed all the evidence that's been presented by the defense, including Dr. Kropp's evidence. I weighed all the arguments that have been contained by both. But I've also weighed the circumstances of these offenses. And the defendant's participation in these offenses, which is also a part of the 921 statute. Without going into great length and having to recap all that has been said here, the overwhelming thing is that he orchestrated the death of 3 juveniles without any pretense or any justification in any sense whatsoever. He did that at the time after cutting off his electronic monitor for a juvenile offense, for offensive carjacking. He did this offense within a couple of months of being placed on the electronic monitor. I just find that the seriousness and the heinousness of these offenses outweigh any mitigation that's been placed in front of the court. For the homicide offenses, there's really only one sentence that is appropriate in the case. And that sentence that he shall receive is a life sentence for each of his homicide offenses. I want to go down each of them individually so that that can be made clear. In case number 23 CF 1860, guilty of murder in the first degree with a firearm involving the death of Michael Hodo, he's ordered to serve life imprisonment. In case that was count 1. In count 2, he's adjudicated guilty of murder in the first degree with a firearm involving the death of Layla Danielle Silvanel. In that case, he will serve life imprisonment. In count 3, he'll be adjudicated guilty of murder in the first degree with a firearm involving Camille Quarles. In count 4, robbery with a firearm, he is the B defendant. He will be ordered to serve life imprisonment. In count 5, robbery with a I misread that. It's count 3. Count 4 is robbery with imprisonment. Count 5, robbery with a firearm, he will be ordered to serve life imprisonment. Count 6, let me go back. Count 4 and 5 is adjudicated guilty of robbery with a firearm.
Judge, he's only charged with 1 robbery firearm in this case. That other robbery is Mr. Robinson. Yes.
I'm trying to read this and
yes,
think
sir.
at the same time. He's adjudicated guilty in count 4 of robbery with a firearm as a B defendant or serve life in imprisonment. Count 5, he is not in that offense.
Correct.
But that wasn't part of the plea offer either. Count 5.
I'm trying to read a lot of things at the same time, but I appreciate it. He's not in count 5. Count 6, adjudicated guilty of tampering with physical evidence, ordered to serve 96.225 months in the Department of Corrections. I do also find that he killed or attempted to kill the victim, Michael Hodo, in these cases, that he directly killed Mr. Hodo by shooting him with a firearm. So he will be ordered that he can have, that his date for a review will be after 25 years from the date of the offense, or the date of the arrest, I should say. I think it would go by date of arrest. Is that correct? Or by date of conviction? Anyone's guess at this point?
I don't know the answer to that, Judge.
Okay. By whichever is the latter of the two. If it's date of arrest, it'll be by date of arrest. If it's date of conviction, but he will be entitled to review for 25 years to comply with the statute on these offenses. And that will also be the same for the life imprisonment on the robbery. That would be for all 4 offenses and the robbery. He'd be entitled to review after 25 years. I'm just thinking, I know there may be a situation he would be entitled to review earlier for one offenses.
The robbery, I believe, is 20.
Correct.
20.
That's correct.
I can impose, I'll say for 20 on the robbery, but I would point out, I don't know if they would do a review since he would not be entitled to release for another 5 years on the murder.
Correct.
But since they've conducted none of these reviews on new cases yet, but, so I stand on the robbery, it would be 20 years.
And that's part of the plea offer too.
Okay, so fair enough, 20 years. I don't believe the offer addressed whether the sentences would be concurrent or consecutive with these 23 sentences. Is that correct?
It did not address that, Judge.
I'm sorry, we would be requesting the prior sentence that he received to be concurred with this.
Okay, but the plea offer did not address it.
It
The
did
plea
not.
offer did not.
Okay. Well, the 23 cases, which is 23 CF 1344 and 23 CF 1345, of which he's previously sentenced, those are for separate offenses with separate victims completed at a completely separate time, unrelated to these offenses. So his sentences in 23 CF 1864 will be served consecutively to the sentences in 23 CF 1344 and 23 CF 1345. However, I believe he still is entitled to review at the 25-year mark. But the sentences, if he is not let out upon review, are served consecutively. So I think he had a 20-year sentence there. So essentially his sentence would start upon the expiration of his earlier sentence. On each count, I'm going to go back to the plea agreement here. On count, there is, for the case, $100 to state attorney's office cost of prosecution, $100 cost of defense. That's for count 1. Is there anything else I've missed?
Just for clarification purposes, Your Honor, the plea agreement indicated that the defendant agreed that he killed, intended to kill, or attempted to kill all 3 homicide victims. That was the negotiated plea. Is the court making that finding that that
Yes, sir.
25-year review hearing applies to each of the homicide counts?
Yes, sir. That's what I.
Thank you, Your Honor.
That's the intention of the court. So, Mr. Vaughn, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. So yes, the 25 years is on the 3 homicide offenses. All his sentences in the 23 CF 1864 are concurrent.
Yes.
So the sentences in 1864 are concurrent, but they are consecutive to the sentences in 23 CF 1344 and 23 CF 1345.
Are you a bit of a mandatory on the
There's a 10-year minimum mandatory for the firearm in the armed robbery offense. So the 23 CF 1864 are all concurrent, Madam Clerk, but those sentences are all consecutive to the sentences in 23 CF 1344, 23 CF 1345. All right. Good luck to you, sir. You have 30 days to file an appeal. Oh, there is a $100 fine in court costs on count 1. Good luck to you, sir. You have 30 days for an appeal. Is he requesting the appointment of counsel for appeal? Or? Let me know if he is.
Court hearing wrapping up where Taj Bruton was sentenced to 3 life sentences for the murders of Michael Hodo Jr., Layla Silvernail, and Camille Quarles. As you saw there in the gallery, we did see friends of Layla wearing Justice for Layla shirts. You saw Michael Hodo's father wearing shirt as well that had the photos of, I believe, all 3 victims on it. We could hear some crying. You could see tears on several of their faces of people in the gallery there as that sentence was read out. Again, life sentence for each of those 3 murder charges for those 3 victims who were killed back in 2023. Taj Bruton, 16 years old at the time of that, but you heard the judge acknowledging the seriousness and the heinousness, he said, not to mention the criminal history of Taj Bruton at the time that, according to the judge, he, quote, orchestrated the death of those 3 teenagers. You heard some of the details of that plea agreement. He will be eligible for review after 25 years for those life sentences for murder. We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but before we do, one more quick note. Robert Robinson, the third defendant in this case, he is scheduled to be sentenced in Marion County Court this afternoon. That's scheduled for 1:30. Now we will take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but much more to come, so keep it here on Fox Local and on YouTube.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Weimer, and thanks for joining us on this Wednesday morning. Attorney General James Uthmeier was in Polk County earlier today, speaking alongside Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd. They were talking about a multi-million-dollar joint fraud investigation that they said spanned several states, actually impacted more than 200 victims in this case, and nearly $8.9 million, so close to $9 million in stolen money as well. We know that there are 8 suspects from Florida and several other states as well who were arrested, now charged with fraud and racketeering related felonies as well. This is the Attorney General and the Polk County Sheriff speaking in Winter Haven just a little bit ago.
It started when an online banking detective, Synchrony, came to Polk County because all of a sudden he noticed that there's a new account that pops up, and immediately $250,000 are placed in this account. So he begins an investigation on behalf of the bank, does a remarkable job, and then notifies the sheriff's office. When he notified the sheriff's office, we determined that there, and I'll give you details in a minute, but a guy by the name of Navarez was the one that opened this account. And then from that, the investigations went on, and we determined, my goodness, it's bigger and it's bigger and it's bigger. Ultimately, we served 18 search warrants with the help of and the direction of our statewide prosecutor. We also obtained subpoenas from several banks. And here's what we know. Let me give you the lineage, okay? This Antonio Penn, all right? He was the guy that was stealing the data from the M&T Bank, which is a bank group out of the Northeast United States. But his assignment at the bank didn't allow him access. He was a 5-year employee. So what did he do? He went to 2 of his associates, Barbara Frazee and Kamala Schaefer. Both of them had 35 plus years. And they were either giving him access to the bank data or giving him the code so that he could access the bank data. Then what he would do is once he obtained this data, and I'll go into detail of that later on, he would send it to, we call him Oki Akushi, and Oki Akushi then would put it online with Telegram. When it went online with Telegram, people from around the world would purchase this information, and then subsequently they could set up accounts. All of the people we're talking about today, other than the tellers that provided access, had multiple accounts, some of them up to 20 or 30 accounts. And then they would buy the data offline and steal from the people. So what did General Uthmeier's team stop with our detectives and FDLE's detectives and other law enforcement agencies? What we stopped was an $8.8 million fraud and theft ring. Then Rashodo Durant there, he would also buy data, and Hassan Phillips, Michael Navarez, and Kevin Clayton, wouldn't you know it, he's here illegally, were three of the players. They were the three players we identified, and then they would push money back upstream. But understand, Durant, Phillips, Navarez, and Clayton, who we're going to talk more about in a few minutes, are only 4 of what we know of hundreds of people that stole data. The irony of it is Antonio Penn and Oki, even though they masterminded the theft of all of this money through wire transfers, they only profited about $70,000 or $80,000, and they're all broke today. So when I introduce you to these folks, it's important that you know that there's always some color to them. Antonio knew Oki because they played college football together at West Virginia. That's where they met. All of our associates knew each other. Antonio Penn liked to be known as Showtime Penn. He targeted the elderly. He called them dead-end accounts. And the general's going to speak more about that in a minute. But Oki, now, Penn's in Maryland, Oki's in Missouri. He is the one that actually sold online the account data. And then from there, we know that none of this would have happened if Barbara and Kamala didn't provide access to Penn. These guys understand what's interesting about them is Hassan Phillips met Durant playing games online, computer games. He bought the data. All of them bought data. All of these had multiple accounts. This guy claimed to, at one time, work legitimately as a solar power panel retailer. Michael Navarez worked for Ring Power in Lakeland. Durant confessed. When we told him he was charged with RICO, he says, "Hey, I thought only rappers got charged with RICO." Duh. And at the end of the day, the important part is that because of the great work of our detectives and the statewide prosecutor, this entire complicated ring was brought down. So we have focus from Missouri to the northeast of Maryland to Florida. There are still hundreds of suspects out there that are not in custody that we'd love to have in custody. So with that, I want to close with a statement about Telegram. This went from teller to Telegram. Telegram is a platform that is operated out of Dubai. The CEO, Pavel Durov, was arrested in 2024 by France because he was involved in criminal enterprises online. Up until that time, they would not release any subscriber data at all, but a simple arrest by France got them to start to cooperate. But they market online that there's end-to-end encryption, and they call it a secret chat feature. That's why all of this could take place. New York Times calls Telegram the playground of criminals. So you have Telegram and Telecrook, and now we're telling everybody there's Telejail in Polk County. So these Maryland, West Virginia, Missouri people went from Telegram, Telecrook to Telejail. It was their choice.
I think that might be a new Grady Juddism right there. Telegram, Telecrook, Telejail from that news conference just a little bit ago in Winter Haven. We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back. Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Jessica Dobson joins me now, and Jess going to be watching for those waves of showers and storms again today.
Yeah, yesterday I technically did not get any rain at my house, but I know that was not the case for everybody because when it rained, it definitely poured, and some places got up to about 5 inches. So it was, yeah, a pretty soggy day. Not for everybody, but for some of us. It's kind of the haves and have-nots when it came to yesterday, and today it's going to be kind of similar. Still, when it rains, it's going to just pour. A lot of rain will fall over a short span of time, so that's why it is a Fox 35 weather impact day, and that could lead to some isolated areas of flash flooding. When it comes to the timeline, we're expecting the best chances of rain to likely begin to take place around 2 o'clock. That's when we'll really start to see the heaviest of the downpours get going, and then we'll be expecting those rain chances to be an upwards of an 80% chance all the way through, say, about 8, almost 9 o'clock for some spots. So it is going to be a pretty soggy afternoon, and those showers and storms could linger into the evening for some of us, not everyone. It's not going to rain all day long either, at least not for everybody, but we are going to see those heavy downpours where the showers and storms do set up shop, and it's going to be heavy rain at that. So looking ahead towards the rest of today, we're likely going to see a couple of these showers and storms bubble up and pop up on the radar, say close to around 2 p.m. They'll continue to grow more widespread as we get closer towards, say, 4, 5 o'clock, and they'll essentially continue to play bumper cars with each other as the sea breeze gets going, and that's going to be one of the components helping to fire off more of those showers and storms today. So it's going to be very scattered, very hit and miss. And again, these are going to be slow moving. So when it rains, it's going to rain for, quite some time. And we could see redevelopment, meaning we could see those showers and storms move over the same areas over and over. And that's where we can see the potential of some of that flash flooding. So it's when we have a lot of rain falling over a short span of time. So just make sure you're staying very weather aware today and paying attention to the forecast and also the roadways, because these are going to be blinding downpours. If you've lived in Florida long enough, or even just the last couple of months, you probably have driven through some of these downpours where it just rains so much and all you can really see are the blinkers on the car in front of you. So it's just going to be one of those days. When it comes to how much rain is going to fall, we're looking at an additional 1 to 3 inches. That will be possible. Some spots could get close to, say, 4 or 5. I think those are going to be pretty few and far between, but still, it's going to be wherever those heaviest showers and storms set up and wherever we'll see repeated rounds. It's going to just be very kind of erratic in terms of the development of them. But again, most of us, I think, have a pretty decent shot at seeing some showers and storms. So we are still tracking this area of low pressure. It's off to our north and west. And if this seems familiar, it's because it's essentially the same setup we had almost at this exact moment last week, except it was just Tuesday. And we had a little more rain. The low was a little bit further south, but still, this area of low pressure is going to work its way into the Gulf. As it does so, it will help to pull a lot of the moisture with it, and that's going to help to dry us out. But regardless, it's going to help to fire off additional showers and storms for us, keep that tropical moisture in the atmosphere, and it's also going to play a part in the tropics here over the next couple of days. So specifically, this area of low pressure, it's going to continue to move its way further to the west. So it's moving away from Florida. That's good news for us, but it's going to move into the Gulf where waters are very warm. So there is a low chance of some slow development that's possible, but so far, it's a 10% chance. That's as low as it can be. So we're just going to watch it here over the next couple of days. Maybe a tropical depression that could be possible, at least briefly. But regardless, the flash flooding potential is going to be the main impact we feel, whether or not there is any sort of tropical system that tries to get going. But it also is going to bring some heavy rainfall to not only Louisiana this time around, but what looks to be also Texas, the coastline of Texas there. So really much of the Gulf Coast is going to be getting on these rain chances. But I will say, as this system drifts into the Gulf, we're going to be expecting some drier weather to unfold here. So an 80% chance of rain today. Again, it's going to be pretty wet. 60% chance for our Thursday. So tomorrow we start to see more of a typical type of setup when it comes to our showers and storms. And then by Friday, it's looking a lot more isolated at a 30% chance. And then for this weekend, we're looking drier, which a lot of people might be very excited about that for good reason. But as a result, it's going to be a lot hotter, potentially dangerously hot. So similar to last weekend, if not even hotter. So we're expecting a high of 96 for our Saturday, 97 for Sunday. But here's the thing, once you factor in the humidity, it's going to feel even hotter than that. We're talking, feels like temperature is right around 105 to as high as maybe 108, even 110 or higher in some spots. So that's where we start to approach those dangerous levels when it comes to the heat and the humidity. So I would not be at all shocked if we do run into some heat advisories for this weekend. And all that's saying is, we're now approaching dangerously hot temperatures. And that means if you are maybe the elderly or if you have breathing problems, just take it easy outside. Make sure you bring your pets indoors. Make sure you and your pets and your loved ones are staying hydrated and having access to air conditioning too, because even for Floridians, we're going to be on the hot side over the course of the next couple of days. It is, mid to late July, so this is typically when we see these very hot temperatures, but still, it's a good reminder to make sure you check on everybody, check on your neighbors, things like that.
Yeah.
But looking at the next 7 days, we're going to still be seeing those rain chances, just very hit and miss over the weekend. And again, it's like if we can't have one thing, we've got to have another. So it's going to be dry, yes, but it's going to be very hot and humid. 97 will be our high Sunday and Monday, and then Tuesday we start to see those rain chances pick back up, but still looking to hold on to the mid-90s.
Right back to that ice cream and popsicle weather.
Yes, but you have to kind of inhale it so it doesn't melt.
Right, very quickly, very quickly.
Yes.
Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Jessica Dobson, we appreciate you joining us. And I want to get you inside this hearing going on right now on Capitol Hill. This is Congressman Rob Bresnahan, a Republican from Pennsylvania, who is speaking right now, having the chance to ask some questions of David Richardson, who's a senior official performing the duties of FEMA administrator right now. This is a subcommittee from the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. This one of the things that falls under this subcommittee is emergency management, and they are looking at examining improvements to FEMA's disaster response. There's been a lot of conversation about that in Washington, D.C., about potential changes to FEMA. Let's go ahead and listen in a little bit. This hearing's been going on for close to 2 hours now. Let's go ahead and listen in.
There were a few different programs, actually levee projects, that were slated to take place inside of my district. And unfortunately, because of the cancellation of the BRIC program, though about $10 million of levee construction was unfortunately canceled, as well as another $2.5 million in the city of Scranton for buyouts for properties that were ravaged by that earlier flooding that I mentioned. My question would be, have you given any thought, or has there been any dialogue relating or circulating around the BRIC program, or the possible reinstatement of the BRIC program, or something to the likes or similarity of it?
So thank you for the question. And a bit on BRIC first. As I think you might have alluded to, BRIC originally was during the 2018, during the Trump 45. And then it went into the Biden administration, and kind of BRIC went off the rails. And it went off the rails because we were funding things like bus stops and bike paths. So right now, it's under litigation. And what I can, so I can't really speak about, but what I can tell you is that resilience is a priority for me, and it's a priority for FEMA. So even though the BRIC program is under litigation, resilience is important and a top priority for me. And I would like to stay engaged with you on that regarding BRIC. Regarding resilience.
Really appreciate that, and I'll use this as an opportunity to invite you to northeastern Pennsylvania and see some of the communities that have unfortunately suffered dire consequences because of flooding, where levees were never even projected. Some of these areas never even had received water in 1972 that ended up being decimated in 2011 just because of different dynamics and landscapes within side of the river. But I definitely want to continue to stay in touch, work together on some different systems and solutions for my community. So I appreciate you being here. I yield back.
Chair thanks the gentleman. The chair now recognizes Representative Oil.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Richardson, for joining us today. I represent the central and south coast of Oregon, very beautiful place, and my constituents have been pummeled by increasingly severe weather due to climate change. So whether it's fire or floods or heat domes or ice storm, these extreme weather events that we have not experienced before make it so that my communities and constituents had suffered greatly, and they aren't prepared. So I will echo my colleague, Mr. Garamendi, and my colleague from Pennsylvania in stressing the importance of the BRIC grant program. Because I agree with you. We have to make sure our tax dollars are used efficiently and well and not in a wasteful manner. But like Port Orford, this is a coastal rural community in Curry County, Oregon, that just had millions of dollars for water infrastructure upgrades eliminated, even though they had already been allocated. So they have to stop this project. That's not a bus stop. That's not DEI. This is absolutely critical. So I would I'd love to work with you to see how we can move forward, because now they're in limbo and there's just no other way for them to go forward without federal assistance. And I also would like to express my gratitude because last night FEMA approved public assistance of $9 million to address public infrastructure for damage that happens because of floods. but there's hundreds of families who are still waiting for federal support to put their lives back together. These people were advised not to get flood insurance because the areas had never flooded before. So the personal assistance, and even though it's like $800 to $2,000, my community, these communities are almost $20,000 less than the median income. That $800 to $2,000 make all the difference in the world for them to get their lives back on track. So we still have, I don't want to play a blame game. There is no administration that has handled FEMA well, none. It is inefficient. You have people that are traumatized that have to go through bureaucratic processes. I still have 200 people upriver from me that are out of their homes from the 2020 Labor Day fires. We are waiting for reimbursement from FEMA from 2020, 2021, and every year since then. And the process is bureaucratic. We're so worried about someone not stealing a penny that we make these traumatized people go through too much. So again, would love to work with you on how we can have this be more efficient and get aid directly to people and those tax dollars working. So I have two questions. It's been over 2 months since Oregon requested a disaster declaration for these floods. When can families expect a decision on individual assistance? And secondly, is FEMA still considering changes to the public assistance thresholds that would cut off support disasters like our floods in Oregon? Because that doesn't look like reform. It looks like an action that's gonna like punch people while they're down. So those are my two questions.
So thank you for the questions. And flooding, by the way, is, as you know, the most costly disaster that we have. Regarding the first question, which is, could you just summarize the two questions? I'm going to jot them down real quick.
So, like, first question, how do we track and when can we expect a decision on individual assistance? We got the public assistance, but this individual assistance might, in the scope of a federal budget, look small, but it's massive, massive to my communities.
So all the declarations have been cleared. I was briefed on that this morning, so they're all cleared at this point.
So even for the individual assistance?
Yeah, I believe so, but I was briefed on it this morning, so I do believe that they were cleared yesterday.
And then, is FEMA still considering changes to the public assistance threshold that would cut off support for disasters like our floods, our fires, the ice storms? I mean, these are not things we have suffered from before, and they're kind of smaller areas, so we oftentimes just get overlooked.
So and I understand the question. As we currently stand, they remain the same. However, the future of FEMA is going to be determined by the council. So that would be forthcoming depending on what the council decides to recommend to the president.
Okay. And then finally, I will just say again, please do not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Do not eliminate and completely take out the BRIC programs, because they're really, really important work that's done, and we need those dollars. I get that we can disagree, or you can say that you don't think this is the way money should be spent, but water infrastructure and resilience are critical, and that is something in a bipartisan way we should agree that our federal dollars should be pointed towards. So thank you so much.
Congresswoman Val Hoyle there, a Democrat from Oregon, who is questioning Dave Richardson, who is a senior official performing the duties of a FEMA administrator right now, and that hearing going on Capitol Hill, looking into fixing FEMA and changing emergency disaster response. You heard Richardson just a moment ago talk about the council. He was referring to the FEMA Review Council that there's a number of officials from here in our area that are part of. Kevin Guthrie, one of them, the Tampa Mayor Jane Castor is also on that council. They are advising the president on what the future of FEMA should look like. Again, a lot of conversations about some changes and what that might be. You also heard several mentions of BRIC grants. Those are what's called Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities grants, that are grants to help communities guard and prevent damage from natural disasters, infrastructure improvements, that kind of thing, is something that was canceled by the Trump administration back in April, and there is ongoing litigation about that because 20 states, led by Democratic attorneys general, have filed suit against FEMA, challenging them over getting rid of that. So we are coming up on noon here on Fox 35 News Plus. We still have a lot to get to, though. It's been a busy morning with all of these live events going on. So I want to let you know we're going to take a quick break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back after this. We still want to get you to Jacksonville, where we're going to hear from the governor, and also separately from that Ben Crump news conference, as he's representing that the Jacksonville man involved in that now viral arrest. So keep it right here on Fox Local and on YouTube. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back after this.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Weimer, and thanks for joining us on this now Wednesday afternoon, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. Taj Bruton sentenced to life in prison today. In that hearing, we brought you live here on Fox Local as the judge read out that sentence. He was charged in the deaths of Michael Hodo Jr., Layla Silvernail, and Camille Quarles. And shortly after that hearing, Fox 35's Amanda McKenzie had the chance to catch up with the godmother of Camille Quarles, one of the victims who was killed back in this triple murder back in 2023, to get her reaction to what happened in court.
That is the best justice that we could have hoped for. I understood Chris Atkins' sentencing of 40 years. He was 12 years old when the crime was committed, but this guy knew better, and really it's the best that we could have hoped for today within the law that the judge could have done. So no conflict today. I feel great that justice was served today. So.
And any kind of surprises that you saw in the courtroom from how he acted or anything he may have said or done with Taj Bruton while he was in there?
No, not really. There was no specific action that I could speak of. I really wasn't paying attention to that. I was just listening to the testimony and just hoping for the best judgment possible, and we got that.
It was obviously emotional talking about Layla, Camille, and Michael. What would you like to add about what this means for their justice now?
They were good kids. They got caught up in the wrong situation with the wrong people, and just, you can't take that back. And I don't really know what else to say about that part of it. That part is still too emotional. So, but justice was served today, and we're happy about that.
And justice is served today. She says again, the godmother of Camille Quarles. We do still expect Robert Robinson to be sentenced in a hearing this afternoon in Marion County. Well, this morning in Jacksonville, renowned civil rights attorney Ben Crump held a news conference along with a number of other attorneys as well. He's representing William McNeil Jr., who's the man at the center of that viral arrest by the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office back in February. We talked about it quite a bit yesterday, showed you the body camera video from that incident. We do know that the officer has been cleared of any criminal wrongdoing, according to investigators, but the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office is conducting an internal investigation to see if there was any violation of their policies. Now, Crump today is calling for that officer to be fired and is also now suing, he says, the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. In this news conference, we heard from Crump. We're going to hear from McNeil himself and also his parents as they get emotional talking about what happened and seeing that video.
Let me be clear, and people talked about him pleading guilty to resist without violence and driving on suspended license. That entire stop was not just pretextual, racial motivated, it was unlawful. And everything that stemmed from that stop was unlawful. What we're not going to do this morning is get in the back and forth between the leaders of Jacksonville. What we're going to do, we're going to focus on the facts. And everybody saw the video. You can release all the body cameras you want, but the body camera, the cell phone footage was unedited. It is a reality. You can talk about a knife being in the car, but it was not a weapon because he did not weaponize it. He stayed calm. The only weapon that day was a Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. The nation saw it, everybody saw it. And we are here for redress and get justice for the McNeil family. Amen. Nothing more, nothing less. Amen. William have a long road to recovery to go. I'm not going to get in his injuries. You see pictures and things online, but William attended Livingston College, band scholarship. His president is here today. So this narrative, they always have this narrative being, you know, he was a thug. Right. He was a criminal. Yeah. That's the narrative. Yes, sir. But William was doing everything. Come here, William. William was doing everything right. Everything. A college student, on scholarship, doing what's required of him to be a better person. And all he did was exercise his fundamental rights, his God-given rights, to answer a simple question. Why are you stopping me? Yeah. For not having headlights on during the day? Did y'all see the video where the officers came with no headlights on? Yeah. No windshield wiping, no smoke, no fog, no rain. So anybody would be confused, why are you stopping me? And he exercised their right to answer that question, and they bullied him, intimidated him, broke his window, and beat him and caused permanent injuries.
When William was stopped, there was no rhyme or reason, no rationale for them stopping him. I mean, this was a classic case of driving while black. And I applaud William McNeil for keeping his demeanor, his calmness. I mean, Attorney Daniels, I thought the trained police officers were supposed to be the ones to de-escalate the matter. They were the ones escalating the matter while this young man represented the best of us. He kept calm. He was trying to de-escalate the matter. He just kept asking simply, why are you stopping me? I mean, think about that. I understand the sheriff said anti-police. No, no, no. It's not anti-police when an American citizen asks, why are you stopping me? That is an American citizen exercising his constitutional rights. That's what William was doing. He was exercising his constitutional rights. And Attorney Daniels and I seek to remind America that we are a democracy, that we believe in the Constitution, and that all American citizens have a right to the protections of the Constitution, that this is not a police state where the police are above the law and that they have no accountability. No, the last time I checked, America is still a democracy, and our citizens still have a right to the Constitution. Look at that video with your own eyes. Listen with your own ears. We have audio, visual evidence, proof of what happened. Nobody has to narrate it for us. To the sheriff, respectfully, you can't justify this. You can't condone this. You have to condemn this. You have to look at that video and say, this does not reflect our training, our policies, or our values. And you need to terminate that officer immediately. Immediately. Because as Attorney Daniels and I deliberated over this matter, if you don't terminate this officer and you condone this type of police excessive force, then it sends a message to all of the other police officers on the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office team. It tells them it is okay for you to treat citizens like this. It is okay to treat black motorists like this. In America, it is not okay.
The day I seen that video, I couldn't finish it past the window breaking. It wasn't until maybe a few months ago I finally finished the whole video. But I'm thankful to God for protecting him, because I know what the outcome could have been. But I believe in faith in God is what protected my only son, and I thank God for that.
Morning. Good morning. I'm Alton Solomon, the father, stepfather, but I can't call him my stepson because this is my son.
Yes, sir.
I've been through what he's been through. To see that video made me go back to the moment when I was 22. It hurted. It made me upset. Mm-hmm. But I seen what my son did that I had to do. And he sat right, and he did right. To see that, it's a hurting feeling. To be a father that loved God first, and to see all my kids not being able to wake up in the morning and get a phone call saying your child is gone. Wow. That's a hurting feeling, but I thank God. Yes. Because God got him.
First of all, I want to thank God for bringing everybody here together, and thank y'all for supporting me. That day, I just really wanted to know, why I was getting pulled over and why I needed to step out the car when I know I didn't do nothing wrong. I was really just scared. And yeah, that's it.
So that was at a news conference earlier today in Jacksonville. That was William McNeil speaking at the end there with Ben Crump standing beside him. You heard Crump say earlier in that news conference where he called it a classic case of driving while black. Crump also claimed that the JSO arrest report says that McNeil reached for a knife and was combative, but did not mention the officer punching him in the face, which was caught on camera. You may have seen that viral cell phone video as well that we also have showed previously. So Crump calling for the officer involved to be fired. They also talked about filing that lawsuit against the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. Governor Ron DeSantis was in Jacksonville earlier today. We'll have more on the reason he was there coming up in just a few minutes. But the first question that he was asked at the end of that news conference was about this situation. And here is what he said.
About the viral video of the traffic stop conducted earlier this year by the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. Is that something that you have seen?
Well, I haven't seen it, but I heard that it was debunked. What I heard was that this was out there, there was a narrative that was done, and then JSO provided the context, and things were a lot different. Now, I have not personally seen it, but that would not surprise me if that's what happens, because that's what happens in so many of these things. There's a rush to judgment. There's a desire to try to get views and clicks by creating division. And, I know the sheriff here. If people get out of line, he's going to hold them accountable. But if guys are being unfairly targeted as if they did something wrong because there's not enough context, then that's good. So I don't know for sure, but I have heard that once you provide context that things are different. And that has definitely been true around the country in recent years. You remember the Ferguson, Missouri. You had CNN anchors saying, hands up, don't shoot. Basically the narrative was you had this guy, innocent, unarmed, has his hands up, and some rogue cop just guns him down. And they were saying race was the reason to do it. Turns out, even Eric Holder's Justice Department did a thorough investigation and said the officer acted appropriately under the circumstances. And so, you have these situations where people will want to make an issue. But I have every confidence in our sheriff here in Jacksonville that if there's anything that these guys are not living up to the standards, he's going to hold them accountable. But it seems to me like this is trying to create a narrative. Maybe I'll review it, at some point. But I kind of heard about it. Then I heard the response. And I'm like, yeah, that kind of checks out to me. Without even knowing any of the facts, I just know how this stuff works, right? So.
Governor, school district. Oh, there's my microphone. That was the governor asked about that at that news conference earlier today. We are going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but when we come back, we will have more from that news conference as the governor talks about cancer research and treatment funding, the reason he was at Wolfson Children's Hospital in Jacksonville just a little bit ago. So we're going to take a break, but we will be right back with more Fox 35 News Plus after this.
watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Weimer, and thanks for joining us on this Wednesday afternoon live on Fox Local and on YouTube. Governor DeSantis was at Wilson Children's Hospital at Jacksonville just a little bit ago, talking about cancer research and treatment funding, talking about hundreds of millions of dollars that have gone to that mission, to the fight against cancer over the past few years. I think he said another 200-some million in the budget this time around. He said the goal is not individual projects, but having an integrated statewide approach, he said, that will really help with long-term progress. And this is something that's personal to the DeSantises. Casey, the First Lady, is a breast cancer survivor. And here was the governor speaking earlier today. The First Lady was there as well, as they talked about these projects and the importance of this research and treatment funding.
I don't think there's a single person in this state who has not been impacted by cancer, either directly or indirectly. Many Floridians are suffering from cancer or have recovered from cancer, including my wife, Casey. You know, family members, you know, neighbors, friends, coworkers. I mean, it really is something that has a huge, huge reach in terms of the impacts that it has on our state. And of course, we're not alone. This is happening all across the United States. And so we've worked really hard to answer the call, to do whatever we can do to make a big difference in this regard, because we know how wide the impacts, the positive impacts, can be with some of the research that's being done and some of the other breakthroughs that we continue to see. Now, if you look at the state of Florida, so since 2019, not even including this year, what we're going to highlight, you know, we've done over $800 million in cancer research and treatment funding, which is an increase of 114% from prior to my time. This year in the budget, you know, you're over $200 million for the various initiatives that we have. And so that's a huge, huge token of support. And it should be noted, the way we approach this stuff in Florida, I signed a budget at the end of June that spends less than the previous budget, and that budget, after my line item vetoes, spent less than the previous year's budget overall in total. Not a lot of places are doing that, where they're very responsible with how you use the money, but we've also, over that period of time, paid off, so at the end of this fiscal year, we have paid off all the history of Florida, 41% of the state's outstanding debt. This fiscal year will bring us to almost 50%. Just in a 6 or 7 year period, we've been able to knock that out. Again, not a lot of other places are doing that. We've also been able to reduce taxes more than has ever been reduced in a similar period of time in the history of the state of Florida. If you look at our overall budget footprint, you know, I hear, you know, I got to follow these things in these other states because it affects us. You know, they elect this guy in New York City. If they do that, you're going to see more people kind of move businesses to Florida. It's just going to happen. Like, and I'm not even asking for that to happen. And obviously, I don't want Florida to replicate policies in places like New York. But the reality is there is a response that happens when you see failed policies put into place. And so we now have probably 4 million more residents than New York State. They're 19.5 million. We're probably pushing 23.5 million right now, but we're certainly over 23. So we have 3 to 4 million more residents than they do, and yet their budget is over twice the size of our budget. How does that happen? I know you wouldn't want to go to the DMV there. You'd rather get your license here. I know the roads are a lot better here. I know our schools are performing higher. So, you know, you see this. So we've done it right. But even though we've done that and been very responsible with that, what we have done is focus on things that really make an impact for the state of Florida. For example, we've done more to increase teacher salaries, and we just did another $110 million increase, total of $1.35 billion for our teacher funding this year. We've done a lot to accelerate infrastructure projects because state's growing. We have areas of the state that have really bad traffic. You have some spots here in Northeast Florida, but you ain't seen nothing yet if you go down a couple of these spots in Orlando, a couple of these other spots. So we've worked to say rather than start those middle of next decade, let's start them now, let's finish them 5, 10, or 15 years ahead of schedule. So we took resources, we did that, and it's already having a positive impact, but that'll have a big positive impact. We also, last week I was down in Marco Island to sign a memorandum of understanding with the Army Corps of Engineers and the Department of the Army, because I've asked the President, delegate us more authority to be able to move these Everglades projects. We do our projects very quickly, and when there's hiccups, we take action and get new people in there to do it, which we did on the C-43 reservoir. But we can do some of this stuff quicker. President agreed, so we signed this memorandum. But if you look at what we've done in that space over my tenure, truly, truly historic. You've never seen anything like that in the entire history of Florida, and certainly in recent history. And so that is something that's going to have decades and decades of impact on Floridians in a really positive way, for culture, for recreation, for clean drink water, all this stuff. So we've done that and dedicated huge resources. So we're doing things even as we're, and we have the smallest state government in America per capita if you look at our employees. So even as we're doing all that, you know, you're seeing really impactful things done that really make a positive difference in the lives of Floridians. And I think that we're celebrating the success of this most recent budget with respect to all these items in cancer research and funding that are really, really important. And all of that was fully funded. All of that has come through. And I know people say, oh, well, this committee didn't know. It all landed. It all's doing what we needed to do. And I definitely want to thank President Ben Albritton of the Florida Senate. He's been a huge, huge advocate of this, as have other Senate presidents like Kathleen Passidomo, Wilton Simpson in the past. They really believe in this. And this is going to make a huge, huge difference. So what are we looking at here? Well, one, the Casey DeSantis Cancer Research Program was funded almost $130 million. That will strengthen the quality and competitiveness of cancer care across Florida. It will direct funds to Florida's 4 hospitals that have NCI designations and facilities that are seeking NCI designations. So we have Moffitt, we have Mayo here in Jacksonville, UF Shands in Gainesville, and Sylvester in Miami-Dade County. Supports a statewide biomedical research strategy, one that's directly responsive to the needs of Florida's patients and researchers. And this program has served as the backbone of the state's innovation efforts. We don't want to just support isolated projects, but we want to build an integrated statewide approach that drives long-term progress. This consortium of National Cancer Institute Cares Program was established by the Florida legislature in 2014. 2022 was renamed after the First Lady in recognition of her successful recovery from breast cancer, and we're really pleased that, that we were able to do that. Under the First Lady's leadership, the Cancer Connect Collaborative is the first of its kind national model focused on accelerating research, sharing best practices, and turning data into action. Florida is really unique in doing this, and I think it's a really great innovative approach. We don't want barriers that slow progress. We're all in this together. That
was Governor Ron DeSantis earlier in Jacksonville talking about the cancer research and cancer treatment funding, as well as a couple of other topics there as well. We appreciate you joining us here on this extended Fox 35 News Plus today. Been a lot going on. More coming up this afternoon at 1:30. The third teen in that Marion County triple murder is expected to be sentenced. So we hope to have that for you. And then at 2 o'clock, that will lead us right into our regular Florida Live show as well. So keep it here on Fox Local. Much more to come today. In the meantime, going to give you a view here at some of our cameras all across the Sunshine State. And you see the sun shining in just about all of these cameras we've seen so far, but we do know there could be a chance for some more showers and storms later today. So keep it here on Fox Local and have a great afternoon.